On March 25th, 4 American soldiers went missing whilst on a military training exercise in eastern Lithuania. The vehicle that they were in, an M88 Hercules ARV or Armored Recovery Vehicle, was found shortly after, submerged in a swampy area. At the time of making this video, it's being recovered, but authorities say that this could take days. Meanwhile, the soldiers are still presumed to be missing, although authorities aren't ruling out the possibility that they are inside the vehicle. While news could conceivably change any time now, let's take a look at what else is known so far. The Lithuanian Armed Forces reported that on March 25th at approximately 16:45 hours, a notification was received that 4 US service members and 1 tracked vehicle were missing within the General Silvestris Žukauskas training area in Pabradė. The US Army said in a statement that the soldiers were conducting, quote, scheduled tactical training at the time of the incident. For those who are unaware, the Pabradė training area is home to Camp Herkus, where hundreds of US troops are based as a deterrent against Russian/Belarusian aggression. We can presume that the soldiers had been deployed to Lithuania not too long ago. Indeed, on January 29, 2025, the 11th US Rotational Battalion kicked off their tour of duty in Pabradė. The incoming US forces consisted of 2 battalions from the 3rd Infantry Division and are on a 9-month deployment, something that has been going on for several years. More specifically, the battalions are the 3rd Battalion of the 69th Armour Regiment and the 1st Field Artillery Battalion of the 41st Field Artillery Regiment. We'll get into more of the background of the US presence in Lithuania later on in this video. But getting back to the developing situation, the M88 Hercules was discovered on Wednesday, March 26th, submerged in a body of water. On that day, NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte stated that the 4 soldiers were, quote, killed in an incident in Lithuania, and he expressed his condolences and support for the families of the deceased and the United States military. However, shortly after, Rutte had to retract his statements, and NATO later said that the US military had not confirmed any deaths. The evacuation of the M88 has proven to require a lot of heavy equipment due to the challenging terrain. As you can see from this video, heavy machinery is being used to dig up the soil in an effort to reach the location of the armored vehicle. Equipment includes an amphibious long boom excavator which has a boom length of 19 meters and a lifting capacity of 3 tons. At one point it was stated that gravel was being poured continuously at the scene to allow for access, while the swamp is also being drained. Lithuania's defense minister adds that Poland has offered to send a group of troops with engineering equipment to assist in the vehicle recovery operation. A Lithuanian military officer is quoted as saying, "It's water running, it's mud." He goes on to say that it took some time to empty a nearby gas pipeline to ensure the safety of vehicle recovery crews. The vehicle is said to be trapped at a depth of about 3 to 5 meters. The defense minister noted that the M88 in the swamp can barely be grasped with rods and its position is not visible. The most intriguing statements from the media have to do with the soldiers, as they state that it remains unclear if the soldiers are inside. Typically, when you have reports of missing soldiers, thoughts go to the missing individuals being lost out in the woods. However, in this case, the term missing may be used more as a technicality, as they haven't been found but could indeed still be inside the vehicle. With the conditions of the area being described as a marshy swamp, it's conceivable that the vehicle perhaps drove in and became submerged in the darkness of night. Of course, the big question is whether or not the crew was able to evacuate before the vehicle went under. The Pabradė training area has a size of 176 square kilometers, which is no doubt quite large, and of course the hope is that they did manage to evacuate. Unfortunately, at this point there are more questions than answers when it comes to how all of this happened. We hope to post an update video when there are more developments. As for background regarding the American presence in Lithuania, deployments began in 2014 after Russia's annexation of Crimea. The US commitment would be reduced for a few years, but large-scale US troop deployment would take place once again from October 2019 and on. On October 14, 2019, the first troops of a battalion-sized unit arrived in Lithuania. The more than 500 US Army soldiers were part of a larger long-term deal between the United States and Lithuania's defense minister had this to say at the time. "We have sought for a larger long-term US military involvement in Lithuania and the region consistently and patiently. Therefore, the deployment of the US Army battalion for a longer period of time is good and awaited news and a result of our efforts and investment. The US forces are a vital factor of deterrence, so it'll contribute to NATO efforts in the Baltic region." Despite the United States being a core member of NATO and NATO establishing a multinational group in Lithuania, it should be made clear that the US deployment in Lithuania is not attached to the German-led NATO battle group in the country. These forces are located in a different part of Lithuania.